Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Joining us today is the runner-up at the very first Classic Physique Olympia, also the runner-up at the very first Arnold Classic Physique competition. This is Arash Rahbar joining us. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Ron. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now I'm glad you just went, okay, there you go. I was going to say, the lighting here is so much better than last time because I usually talk to Arash at night. He's a hard-working guy. Works in you own properties and stuff. I mean, you're way beyond like the regular meathead, correct?
I try. Yeah, I'm in real estate, so it keeps keeps me busy at times.
Okay, so I got a bunch of questions for you. You ready? Here we go.
Absolutely, let's do it.
So aside from the little 4-minute 43-second thing we did at the Meet the Olympians, we haven't spoken at length for a while. So I think I told you last time. I became a real fan of yours at the Arnold a year ago. That's where I finally set up and said, this guy's friggin' pretty damn great. He's Olympia material. I could see it at that point. Sometimes it takes me a couple shows.
Yeah.
Like, George Peterson, who you know very well.
Of course.
I just came around to the George bandwagon like very recently.
Yeah.
A couple of years, him and Justin were always like, Ron, stop talking shit. But anyway, so I'm thinking that I never asked you this because we haven't spoken since the Olympia at all. You got in great shape for the Olympia again, but looking back, do you feel you would have been able to bring an even better package had you taken that whole year and just focused on the Olympia rather than do the Arnold Classic earlier that season?
You know, I don't think with bodybuilding, but as you know, there's many variables that have to come together to make the perfect prep, so to speak. I don't think it's so much doing shows. I think you could do 2-3 shows a year as long as you're balanced with your diet and you don't push yourself too hard. Before the Olympia, I had like adrenal fatigue and I was just really, really run down and we were pushing really hard. In my opinion now, in retrospect, too little calories, too much cardio, and my body just shut down. So I should have been more conditioned for the Olympia. That being said, the last few days protocol was also not great and I ended up looking soft and more watery than I actually was. I was leaner than I looked, is what I'm trying to say. So I wasn't happy with that package at all. That being said, I think I said this to you in the past, I don't think I've ever been 90% on stage, I don't think I've ever brought it together and shown the best that I can possibly show. You've never been more than 90% on stage. You've never seen 100%. In my opinion, not even close.
Okay. Is that the main reason you chose to sit out the Arnold this year, so you could make sure you're able to not have that adrenal gland burnout and everything that goes in it? You say you can do 2, 3, 4 shows a year, but it does, I don't care who you are, it takes a toll on you, dieting over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's different. I guess some people could take it more. I think people that have an easier time getting conditioned can do more shows. Because the more brutal, the last 2 months of getting really, really diced is, the harder it is on your body. I mean, look at someone like Dexter. I mean, he's an anomaly. Dexter's in a class of his own. He's 1 in a million, and he's done lots of shows the past 15 years, So, some guys can, Jose Raymond, a good friend of mine, he does a lot of shows, or at least he used to. So I think it depends on the individual, but I think we always talk about, in bodybuilding, genetics is number one, your diet and training, your coach, all that stuff's important. But I think what trumps all of that is your mental state. If you don't have it together mentally, your body's going to fall apart. You're going to have your injuries. You're going to have your adrenal fatigues. You're not going to get conditioned. I work with a lot of athletes and I have my own experience, and the ones that are hitting me up every day the last 3 weeks asking me different questions of what we should change, I know they're overthinking. That means they're stressing, and if you're stressing, your body's not going to rest and recover, and you're not going to be your best.
So we talk about peaking because I don't think anyone, unless you've competed at that very high level like you have, I don't think people understand that fine balance is so hard. I mean, very, very few bodybuilders ever say they feel like they nailed it exactly. They got the fullness, the dryness, everything they wanted it together on that one day, in that one, 20 to 30 minutes you're up on stage. Have you been able to learn a little bit from every, I hate to use the word peak week, but peak week, so that you can apply it to make sure that you get it right next time or get a little better next time? Or is it just are there things with the body that we can't really understand why this has that impact on it?
Well, I've learned a lot, yes. But I think, understanding homeostasis, for those that you don't know, it's the neutral balance point of the human body, where your body's always trying to maintain this homeostatic state so it stays alive. And everything we do in bodybuilding goes against that. Your body doesn't want to release water. It doesn't want to be shredded. It doesn't want to be shrink wrapped, and dry. So that's why it's tough. And the body is smarter than the bodybuilder. So it's always changing. It's always a step ahead. But that being said, peak week is even harder when you have to make a weight and you're not close to that weight. So 2017, I was 20 pounds over a week out. And I don't think it was because I was too big. I just think I was just holding too much water. So, if you're 5 pounds, 8 pounds over a week and a half out, it's okay. But the more you have to drop, the more severe the quote unquote peak week, which I don't like to use as well, the more intense it is and the harder it is to come back to life. So yeah, a lot of it is learning and experience, and a lot of it is a crapshoot.
One thing I was surprised, I looked at the interview you did in Dubai, where I imagine you must have a ton of fans, even though you're a Persian, right?
Yeah.
But that part of the world must,
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of support out there for you.
We're neighbors.
But I heard you eat low carbs or almost no carbs most of the week. Is that right?
Well, right now, no. I eat carbs. I eat not that high compared to a lot of other guys and what I used to eat when I was younger. I eat about 250 a day, and I'm about 250 pounds.
Okay, I mean that's
so I get bigger and I grow easy, but my metabolism was shot after the Olympia. My metabolism was shot, and I was on low carbs for so long. A lot of guys don't run keto, so to speak, but when you're on minus 50 or less grams of carbs a day, you're probably in ketosis as a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Even though we eat a lot of protein, we burn that off. We have a lot of muscle glycogen. A lot of times you are producing ketones. Your numbers might not be high. So what that tells you is you're producing those ketones. You're on low carbs for weeks and weeks and weeks. You're not really breaking down carbohydrates well. And that's why you see so many guys blow up and gain 20, 30 pounds of water after shows. And that was me in my amateur days. So not do that, what I would do after shows is I would do a keto. So I would ramp up my calories, but from fats. And I would end up putting on weight, but not bloated water and not a lot of fat. And I would stay conditioned. So I did that for a while. I had guest appearances and photo shoots and whatnot. And then I slowly eased back into the carbs. And when I say slowly, for me, if I just go up from like 50 to 250, I'll put on fat easy and I'll retain a ton of water. And retaining water is not fun. It looks terrible and it's not healthy.
Yeah. I mean, people don't realize. I've had friends hospitalized after shows because they blew up with so much water from eating out of control, and their ankles swelled up, and their blood pressure went through the roof, and they had to go to the ER.
Yeah,
it's no joke. This is one thing I wanted to ask you. The classic division is the one division where every year we have a few new awesome guys, like genetic freaks come out of nowhere. It's not really that way in the open division. It takes a while for these guys to, maybe one new guy a year, two new guys a year, but classic, how do you stay on top of your division when every year there's a whole slew of awesome new talent coming out of there?
You rely on work ethic. You rely on the time you've put in. You don't let these guys catch up. Genetics is a huge factor. I've beat genetic freaks, blow me away genetically my whole career, from the first show I ever did as an amateur to all the way to the 3 Olympias that I've done. There's guys on that stage that, shape-wise, shoulder to waist ratio, shape, and genetics, I think they're a lot better than me. There's a lot of guys out there. But do they have the mental capacity, the mental toughness to really hang in there and get as conditioned as they need to do, work as hard as they need to all year round, not just the 3 months before a show when they're pumped up and everyone's, cheering them on. Most in the off season, people kind of not forget about you, but you don't have photographers all over and people asking you questions. You got to be able to work at that intensity all year round, even in the winter with your hoodie on and training with no cameras and lights on you. So it's that, and also the maturity. So there's a slew of guys in Classic Physique that look like Mr. Olympia on their own, on their Instagram page. Yeah. And rightfully so. They have beautiful physiques, amazing muscularity and conditioning. But when they step on that stage next to the top 5 in the world, they just can't hang for whatever the case may be. A lot of times it just comes down to size, density, and conditioning.
Yeah.
But I think the classic, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think the classic division is awesome and it's competitive, but it's still not up to where it's going to be in the next 5, in my opinion, 5 years.
Right. And, I want to give you credit because condition is something you have to work for. There's probably that 1 in a million freak that doesn't have to work that hard for it. But generally speaking, even among the elite pros like yourself, you have to really suffer and struggle to get into that crazy crisp condition. And I've seen you beat many guys, and rightfully so, that if these guys ever got in shape, like real shape, they'd be deadly. They'd probably win the Olympia or be top 2 or 3 every damn year. But I see a lot of these guys, they just do not bring the condition. So that's where
I know, Ron, I'm lucky enough to know so many of the top pros. All the guys in the 90s that I looked up to, they're my friends. I have their numbers in my phone and I speak to them, from Flex Wheeler to Kevin Levrone. I love these guys. So I've been fortunate enough to rub shoulders and have conversations in length with some of the top guys in the world. And I see a lot of these guys. I'm friends with them. I see a lot of the classic guys. I see a lot of bodybuilders too. So I know who puts in the work and who really trains hard and who doesn't. In my opinion, there's some guys that are not even in the top 5, not even close. They're maybe in the top 10 and some outside that could be Mr. Olympia. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why aren't they? That's up to them, man. That's really up to them.
I also saw in another interview, you don't look at progress pics, which I think that's perfect. Nobody should be looking at their competition, because what does that really do for you?
Yeah.
But have you noticed? I think you just made a reference to it. A lot of times you see these guys on their Instagram and they're these perfectly posed shots and just the right lighting with the sunlight coming right here, and you're like, oh my God! But then I get to the contest and I'm like, is that the same guy? And then I look at the camera, I go, yeah, that's him. What happened? And I don't think anything happened. But why do you think we have this pattern now of people looking so much better on social media than they do in real life on stage?
I mean, look, I've never used a filter or photoshopped a picture. I just put them up, but I don't just take 10 pictures and then blindly post one. I post the best one. Yeah. I'm being blatantly honest with you. I post the best picture. If I take a bunch of pictures and the lighting is washing me out, I'm going to go and find better lighting. So it's a combination of hand-picked picture at certain angle and the person's not live. And then another factor is, the peaking and the nailing it and the nerves, having a high carb day and a great pump, because that's when guys in prep take their pictures. No one is taking pictures when they feel like crap and they're depleted as hell. It's always after the high carb day, and they got good sleep and there's no nerves. They didn't have to go tanning. They didn't have to go meet and greet. They didn't have to go wake up early and do all these things that we do before show. People don't get it. For the Olympia, the last 2 days, I'm busier than any day of the year. Yeah. Real estate, bodybuilding, whatever. I have so much to do. I don't even get that much sleep because I have to get tanned. Sometimes we get color 3 times. We have the meet and greet. We have meetings to attend to. We have so much stuff to do. So, 2-3 weeks out is when 2 weeks out or a week out is when everyone looks the freakiest in the gym with an amazing pump, which you don't have when you're on stage. You can't get that kind of pump. You're backstage. You're not that comfortable. A lot of times you're exhausted. So it's really tough to truly nail it and look the same. So I think that's why a lot of guys don't look the same as their pictures. And also now they're standing with the best in the world. They're not alone. They're not alone.
That's true.
A lot of the guys that I said before that look phenomenal, like Mr. Olympia on their own, they're small. They're short and compact. And short, compact physiques are some of the most pleasing physiques when they stand alone. But when they stand next to a taller guy with a lot of muscularity, sometimes they just get lost.
True.
Look at Lee Priest.
Yeah, I mean, even in classic, because now you have so many. There's such a wide range of physiques. So you got guys 5'4", you got guys 6'3".
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's such a hodgepodge up there.
It's hard. The taller you are, in my opinion, the harder it is to be very well rounded in classic. So you look at a lot of the shorter guys, they're very well-rounded. They have very wide sweeps, bigger legs, whereas a lot of the taller guys, not so much.
Yeah.
Do
you think it is harder? Because we have a few taller guys now, like Bum said 6 foot. Henri, I think, is 6'2". Visser's, what's he, like 6'2" or 6'3"?
Visser's is pretty tall. I like Visser's. He's a great kid, and I'm a fan of his physique, but he's not up there in the top 5. So Bumstead and Henry are 2 of the taller guys. Before them 2, it was me. I was the tallest guy, and I'm only 5'10" and a quarter. So Henry's got awesome shape, great muscularity, but because he's so tall, his legs are nowhere near someone shorter like Mr. Olympia, like Breon's. And Chris has crazy legs, but he has to bring up like his back and certain things. So I think when it's the the shorter guys, they don't have as many lagging body parts. You know what I'm saying? So I think when you're tall and stretched out, it's a little bit harder with the weight cap. Like, you know, I'm 5'10" and a quarter. A classic guy like in the 80s, 90s, what did they weigh? 225 to 240.
Not even. I mean, there was like Barry DeMay, who I consider one of the great classic physiques before there was classic physique. I believe he was 6 foot and about 220, 225 on stage.
Okay, but like a little bit after that, maybe early 90s, when the guys really had the conditioning. Because when Classic came out, people were very confused. And it's not really the 70s, because the 70s didn't have this muscularity and conditioning. We have the muscularity and conditioning of bodybuilding today, but we're just dumbed down in size. Yeah. So like early 90s, no one my frame and my height was this light. I have to come in at 215.
True.
It's in my opinion, it's pretty light, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think you've said it before. You wanted to be a 215-pound Lee Labrada.
Absolutely. That would be amazing. Yeah.
Pretty close to flawless physique here.
I know what I have to do. You know, I'm not a delusional bodybuilder. I know what body parts are good on my physique that shine, and I know which ones I need to work on.
That brings me to my next question, Arash. You had changed your training split the last time we talked. You were emphasizing legs and back. You worked them more often, and you were doing a little less for your strong points, chest, shoulders, and triceps. Are you still doing that? And what kind of results did you get from prioritizing those areas?
Well, I think it was good because my chest and shoulders and tris were really dominant, and not that I didn't want them to improve. They're going to improve regardless, season after season. But it's a combination of they're very strong, and it's a good idea to give your joints, your shoulders, and your elbows a rest. Mm-hmm. Blasting away now 25 years and 5 years competing very competitively, it's tough. I'm not doing that split anymore. I do a 4-day split, so it's a short split, and then I train again. So within 3 weeks, I'll train everything 4 times. Instead, I'm not training everything twice in 7 days. I'm not big on frequency. Like I trained one muscle once a week growing up for 20 years. I think you can train more often if you like, but you can't annihilate a muscle. You can train a muscle every single day, like a gymnast or any other professional athlete, but you can't annihilate it. When I have a really, really severe, serious, harsh leg workout, I'm sore for like 5 days. 5th day, 4th day, I'm just coming around. Could I train? Yes, but am I still sore? Yes. Dorian used to say he couldn't sit on the toilet bowl for a week. Remember that? He said that.
So what did he do? Squat over like a mat on the floor, like a wheelie mat?
I'm assuming he sat, but it hurt, So I'm training, legs alone, back alone, shoulders and tris, chest and bis, just because I wanted to shorten it from 5 days to 4 days, take a day off and repeat.
Okay.
I might change it up again. I might break up legs again. My legs have been interesting area because it's one of the areas I want to improve a lot. My outer sweep, I feel like that's a point that I have to bring up. But I've had some Tfl issues. The Tfl is a muscle that attaches the top of the IT band. It's not an injury, I don't think, because it's on both sides. I think it's just mechanical, and it's been really tough. I don't like to talk about stuff that aren't positive. I do like to share, but I don't want to bring it up when I'm struggling with it. But it's been over a year and a half now. Before the Arnold Ohio last year, I had the issue, and I haven't squatted, for instance, for over a year. So I warm up for 30, 40 minutes sometimes, and then I do what I can. I do a lot of variations of leg press. Sometimes, if I'm up to it, hack squat. So it's been tough. I'm kind of battling that as we speak. I have an acupuncture appointment tonight at 8.
I was going to say, you're in Long Island. You have access to all the top pros I know from that area. They get all kinds of work done. I mean,
yeah.
Is it Michael Camper? That's in Manhattan. Well, I just know there's a lot of really good practitioners of things like deep tissue, ART, acupuncture. So are you taking advantage of a few of those?
Absolutely. I do 4 sessions of therapy a week. You said Mike Camp, right?
Yeah.
So Mike Camp is my physical therapist. He's helping me out with a new fit or new wave. I forgot the name of the machine. It's a machine, very interesting machine. He's over here. He's not in the city. He's in Bethpage. So I see him once a week. I have acupuncture tonight once a week. And then I have a chiropractor that I see twice a week. And he does active release and Graston on me. So, there's good weeks and there's bad weeks. I think it's mechanical. I don't think it's an injury. I think it's mechanical. And I just need to work on patterning and getting the muscles to fire in the right order. But that being said, when bodybuilders are seeking therapy for injuries, 90% of the time, all we're doing is band-aiding it. Because to truly get over an injury for any person, professional athlete or regular person, they need to take time off of what they're doing and do therapy. So like NBA, NFL players, they'll do like a few hours of therapy a day. That's why those pro athletes will recover within 3 to 6 months, whereas a regular person, average citizen, will take up to a year or two to recover, because all they do is therapy and they give it rest. But when we're going in the gym and training and keep doing the same things that gave us that injury, all the therapy in the world is not going to do much. So you really got to take a step back and not train, which is tough.
Yeah, good luck. No one's going to do that.
I took my first like full week off of training completely this past like 2 months ago. I hadn't done that in years.
Yeah.
And then after that, when I came back in, I didn't train legs. I didn't train legs for a week, about 10, 12 days. It was difficult, you know. So now I'm focusing more on volume, and I'm noticing them growing. I'm doing a little bit more volume, not as heavy as I used to, because I always implement blunt force trauma, but I can't afford to do that right now with the TFL, because I might get away with it for one workout, but it'll do so much damage and pain that I won't be able to train again.
I just remembered what that stands for. It's tensor fascia latae, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I tore mine years ago. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you're right at the weight cap of 215, and you're trying to put muscle on the two most enormous muscle complexes in the body, the back and the legs.
Yeah.
You know, do you have to really be careful not to get too high in the body weight, because you are adding new muscle?
Yeah, I do have to be careful. I don't think I'm just going to grow accidentally 20 pounds of muscle, because I'm not doing the things needed to do that, to make that happen, you know? Relying just on food and rest right now. I will not complain at all putting on pounds of lean muscle on my legs. Anywhere else, I don't think I need to put on much. I mean, I'd like my lower lats to develop more and get thicker, but I think with my back, it's more about just detail and development, you know? I don't think I need to put on mass. And that being said, even if I put on a few pounds of solid muscle, I'd like to come in more conditioned. My goal is always to come in shredded to the bone. And you lose 3 pounds of fat, you're not losing 3 pounds of body weight, you're losing 5 pounds of body weight, 6 pounds of body weight, because fat carries water. So a lot of guys always think they're just holding water. No, they're holding fat and water. But if you lose 3 pounds of fat, you're going to lose 5 or 6 pounds overall. So the leaner you come in, the drier you're going to be 2 weeks out, and the easier it'll be to make weight. Like after 2017, when I had that 20 pounds to lose the last week, that was a huge mistake. For the Arnold, I didn't have a problem making weight at all. I was very lean. I was very conditioned, but I wasn't as full and round on stage. I was a little bit on the flatter side, you know?
All right, remember I said I was going to ask you a couple tough questions? Here's one.
Sure.
So some people who don't really understand the way these contests, you know, they might see your Olympia placings in the 3 years it was second place, fourth place, fifth place, right?
Yeah.
So they might think he must be getting worse, or the other guys are getting that much better. But it doesn't really always, you can't always make those connections that easily. You know, do you have to explain to people that sometimes the placing you get in a show isn't really an indication of whether you've improved or not, or, you know, I mean, because I'm sure people have said something to you like, your placing's going down. What's going on, Arash?
Yeah, I think I've improved year after year as far as muscularity, but I think I got what I deserved, Ron. You know, I think, yes, the division got harder, but that's not necessarily why. I think I wasn't great. I wasn't at my best 17 and 18. I wasn't happy at all with 17 and 18. In 2016, I think I looked great. I wasn't as big as I looked. If you look at New York Pro and Pittsburgh Pro that I won in 2016, I was a lot smaller than the Olympia. Why? We weighed in the morning of the show for those two shows. 2016 was the only year in Classic Physique, a lot of people don't know this, that we weighed in on Thursday and competed Saturday.
Wow.
That doesn't happen anymore. All the shows, the Arnold, the Olympia, we weigh in the day before.
Well, 212, so, I think, they get a couple days.
212 was 2 days before as well, but they changed it. So I asked them to give us weigh-in for the Olympia with 212 for 2018. They said, sure, but 212 is no longer weighing in on Wednesday. They're weighing in Thursday. So it turned out to be the same, but we got a couple extra hours this year, but not days. So I think that in 16, I had a really, really well-rounded package. And honestly, I think I looked more like the 70s guys because I had the conditioning, but I was a little bit softer because I was so full that it gave me that classic look. I think I looked great, but that was a 205, 205-pound package. We've gone up a lot, so I've grown more, but I didn't nail it. So I'd like to be more conditioned at this weight, a tighter midsection, and a bigger sweep on the quads, and I think it'll give my physique a very, very nice overall look. So I think it's me just not being at 100%, and yeah, the division did get harder. Okay. But I don't think I deserved higher placing. I'm not one of those guys that kicks and screams and complains about politics. I think the placing has been very, very fair these 3 years.
Yeah, well, you are a rarity because I do hear a lot of that.
I mean, listen, maybe it happened, but to be honest with you, I do not think it's happened in Classic Physique.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I said, no one, the only person who's ever 100% happy at the end of a show usually is the winner. Everyone else is like,
Yep.
You also talked about improving certain poses and posing in general, like your front and double bicep. You were going to work on things to make them, I think you were going back to a different style you used to hit them. Have you been working a lot more on your posing? Because Classic is the division where posing really makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, I play with it a little bit now, like in the off season. Sometimes I'll walk by the mirror when I'm getting dressed, but I don't pose, yeah, pretty much. I don't pose too much in the off season because I feel like it's good to pose. It's good to pose all year round. It's good for the muscle. It's good for the physique. But as far as choosing poses, you got to choose them once you're conditioned and you see the way your body looks. Because sometimes my poses 6 weeks out will be so different than 2 weeks out because my waist is smaller, my legs are this, or my shoulders that, you know? So I think I just, for the Arnold, when you were there, I think it was a great package. But when you look at my front double, I was focusing so much on standing upright and trying to pull a vacuum that I wasn't opening up my lats. My arms were too high, so my lats didn't look that great. I think I messed up my poses a little bit at the Arnold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fourth season. This is the fourth season of Classic Physique beginning right now. What changes have you already seen, major changes in this division since you started? You were there from the very beginning. Were you the first Classic pro? You're one of them.
Well, I turned pro before Classic, so I turned pro. I didn't turn pro in Classic, but I was one of the first to compete in 2016. I didn't do the first shows. I mean, I think Danny Hester was one of the first to win a show on the West Coast. I did Pittsburgh Pro, New York Pro, so a little bit more mid-season. But I was, one of the popular guys in 16, and that's how I got my name out there from winning those 2 shows and placing second at the Olympia.
Right. So it's been a short time that this division has been around, but seems to me like it's already gone through so many changes, growing pains. It's evolved like a freaking Pokemon already.
Yeah.
What are the major changes you've seen as far as either the physiques or the way it's judged or public perception?
10 pounds of muscle and more guys, a lot more guys. So 10 pounds of muscle and a lot more guys. I think a lot of people were thinking too hard and maybe still thinking too hard to understand Classic Physique. Classic Physique is a bodybuilding show. That's it. Yeah. You're not going to win because you have a pleasing look and you're soft. The biggest, most conditioned guy, as long as he has nice symmetry, nice flow, is going to win. Yeah. There's a lot of top guys that win in place and they don't look classic. Listen, when you're super lean and dry, it's hard to have that classic look.
Right. Like you said, in the 70s was a totally different look.
No, yeah, absolutely. Arnold wouldn't make the weight. He was way too heavy. Yeah. They would say his legs weren't big enough, and overall he wasn't conditioned enough. I think he had an amazing physique, and he's one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time. This is just a different time. Yeah. You can't go backwards. Judges can't start rewarding less conditioned athletes. It's just too hard. It's way too hard. So if you have 2 guys that have the exact same muscularity, beautiful symmetry, they're both hitting nice classic poses, and one is a little bit harder and drier and a little bit more muscular, he's going to win.
Yeah.
That's it.
As it should be. I mean,
it's a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. I mean,
that's what it is.
What about the new trunks, which we have introduced this year? Were you happy to see a little higher cut, a little more of the glute?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love those trunks. Those are the Speedo look, what Arnold wore. It doesn't really show the glutes. It'll show a little of the bottom glute. You don't really see the whole glute minimus or medius, but absolutely. I think they're beautiful. Not only that you're showing more, but I think they're more flattering with the lines of the physique where they cut right into the hip. So yeah, I love them. I haven't gotten my hands on one or tried one on yet, but I mean, they look like a lot of underwear or trunks that I would pose in myself and take progress pictures in the past,
So how many old trunks do you have that are now worthless?
I think like 5 or 6. The first ones I wore at Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
they were kind of the shape. They were bigger, but they had the shape, and I kind of got in trouble for that. I got yelled at. So if you look at the Pittsburgh Pro photos, if anyone goes back, it's a 2-day show, and I won that show. The second day, I was wearing the IFBB boxer trunks,
Okay.
so I had to go and purchase those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you told to? They said, you better not come back with those.
I was told to, yeah. I mean, Danny Hester won the first show wearing kind of like a Speedo. So I thought, like kind of like what we're wearing now.
I want to, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I saw like a big Under Armour logo on his trunks or something.
Well, Danny's got a thing. I don't know if he's superficial, not superficial. What do they call it?
I don't know.
Superstitious.
Oh.
He's got a pair of like athletic boxers that he wears that are like all blacked out. I think they were Nike. But the first show he won was not that boxer look. It had the Speedo look, and I loved it. I think it's awesome. And I'm a fan of his physique, and it looked great on him. Danny's got those classic lines. So I think the shorts are awesome. I think they're definitely a step in the right direction.
Now, we talked about 70s bodybuilders. You were Frank Zane. You played the role of Frank Zane in the movie Bigger.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you get that role?
Honestly, I didn't audition for it or anything. I was just called and asked if I wanted to be in the role. I think it just comes down to the way I've carried myself and been on camera, and I'm always very nice and polite and easy to work with, because there's some rumors I hear about other people, and I think that's why I got the role, to be honest with you, because I don't think I really look like Frank Zane.
Well, was it Flex Magazine did a big thing with Sadiq? He went out to train with Frank.
They did, but I don't think there was. I don't think they spoke to him about playing that role.
He would not. He looks nothing like Frank Zane.
I mean, he looks more like Frank than I do. I think Sadiq would have been good for the role.
Facially, you mean?
A little bit.
Yeah,
a little.
I think you could have pulled it off if you had your hair a little wavier, maybe. I don't know. But
yeah.
So, when did you see it for the first time? Did they have a premiere in New York for it?
We had a premiere in New York, and it was awesome. I got to go see it there. It was cool. I'm flattered to be a part of history. It was the first Hollywood film, and I think it's awesome that what they wanted to do. Dan Solomon is a big reason why I was in the film.
Yeah.
What they wanted to do is give as many of the roles as they could to actual IFBB pro bodybuilders. They didn't need to use me. They could have used a professional actor. So I think that was really, really cool of them. It was an honor. I didn't even think twice about it. I didn't ask any details. They asked me. I said, absolutely. Just tell me where to be and what to do.
Now, when you first saw yourself on that giant screen, I would have been like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Was it like a surreal experience to see yourself on this, 150-foot wide, 60-foot tall screen?
Not really. I don't like let things get to myself too much. And also, I wasn't like a main character in it. I was in there for a couple seconds. So it was cool, but I think my friends and family make a bigger deal of it than I do. It wasn't that big of a role. I'm just happy to have been a part of it,
Knowing movies, they always shoot way more than they use. So were there more scenes that you might have been in?
There weren't more scenes. It was just the speaking role that I had. It's just the whole time I was talking, the camera wasn't on me, so that's the only thing.
Yeah.
I came in shape. I didn't know. I figured I'd be in the gym or training or whatever. I think because I'm not a professional actor and they weren't sure what to expect, maybe they kept the role short to just play it safe.
Yeah.
But I didn't mess it up. We took 30 takes. It was really cool. It was awesome to be a part of. My lines were with the head actor of the movie. So that was awesome.
I mean, Callum's not a professional actor either.
No, but Callum worked really, really hard for that. He took a lot of classes and a lot of speech classes. A lot.
Honestly, I don't want to put anyone else down, but I think he was the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
That's the movie I wanted to see, was the young Arnold starring Callum Von Moger.
I mean, you know what it is, man? He looks so much like Arnold, his physique too, and he really did a great job with the accent. So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. Solid form. You don't have to start prep until about mid-June, I'm guessing, for Olympia?
I think I'm going to give myself a solid 4-month prep.
Okay.
That's what
I was going to ask you. So what's the game plan between now and the Olympia? When are you going to start your prep? I
don't want to get any bigger. I want to continue to eat and just have a really good growing and sleeping and eating and hibernating like a true bodybuilder. I don't want to travel. I don't want to do anything. I want to bring up my outer quads, work on my back. I believe I can keep on growing and improving and even getting leaner, because I took a little bit of time off. I took some time off of eating. I let myself kind of get my metabolism back. Listen, I'll be perfectly honest. It's been a really rough year for me between the TFL and the adrenal fatigue. I mean, if anyone's ever experienced adrenal fatigue, you're just exhausted all the time, all the time. Some days, even now, I drag myself into the gym. I don't really have that energy or motivation to get to the gym. But because I've been doing it for so many years, once I'm in the gym and I force myself to start moving, I have great workouts. But I'm absolutely exhausted before and after. So I'm seeing a lot of holistic medicine. My acupuncturist is a holistic medicine doctor. He also trains at BEVS, and he gets the whole bodybuilding thing. So I'm taking a lot of natural supplements and herbs and trying to just heal and fix this. I don't know if it's so many preps and just beating up my body, but I also had some gut issues and digestive problems. So it for someone that's been bodybuilding for 25 years, for the first 23 years, never had an issue at all. It's really tough. It's mentally and physically tough. So I'm doing my best, and I'm hoping to be back to 100% within the next 2 months and get ready for this Olympia.
Right on. Final question. Arnold Classic is next weekend. Who you got? Who do you got? What's your predictions?
You know, I haven't been all over the lineup. I've seen some of the guys. I haven't been watching, to be honest with you, like every single guy. I think there's going to be an amazing, amazing lineup with a lot of really beautiful physiques and a lot of physiques that you would expect to be winning the Arnold Classic because of their classic lines and blah, blah, blah. But I honestly think that George is going to be in a league of his own because of his condition and muscularity. George is, you know, Justin's saying this is the best they've been, and I don't doubt that, but he's always great. He's always so conditioned. Yeah. He gets conditioned like this. We prep together for the Olympia. He looks good. He's getting leaner, you know, a little bit of body fat, a little bit of bloat. And then all of a sudden, overnight, the guy's like spider webs everywhere, you know? So George has got freaky muscularity, and he's got awesome conditioning. Pound for pound, I think he's one of the best in the classic division. And I think George shouldn't have an issue at all. You know, me and Breon, it was like we were in a show of our own. They did a two-man call-out. It was like me and Breon and everyone else. Yeah. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but I really see that in this show. And I think this show, the Arnold, is going to be George on his own.
Yeah. You know? Do you see anybody else that has the potential to I think George has – we're not going to jinx it. You never know what's going to happen. But it does seem like he's definitely the front runner. But there's got to be a couple other guys, if they really nail the condition.
What do you think?
Steve Laureus, if that guy ever gets the conditioning that George gets, he's scary.
Steve is also a friend of mine, local guy from BEVS. I'm a big fan of Steve's shape, man. Steve has, in my opinion, I'm very unbiased. I tell it like it is. Steve has a potential to be a Mr. O in the future in Classic. It's just up to him if he can bring it. But yeah, if Steve brings the conditioning, you know, there's not a lot of guys that have that small waist and small joints and vacuums and still have big legs and a big back. Yeah. You know, Steve has that. Steve's got something that you can't work for. It's just, can he bring it together? And, you know, he's an amazing guy. You know, people talk about us all the time on social media. For 2016 Olympia, it was me and Sadiq. Mm-hmm. Who won? Danny Hester. It wasn't me or Sadiq, you know? Yeah. And a lot of people were hyping up Steve and talking about him, and rightfully so. I would as well. He's awesome shape. But I'm not sure where he placed this year, but he wasn't in the top 5. I think that he needs to just push it and get himself there. Yeah. You know?
Keon Pearson, also very good. Shorter guy with very round, full muscle bellies.
Keon is like a rough diesel in the sense that on their own in their pictures, they're Mr. O as well. Yeah. Awesome. But they have a hard time in the lineup because the bigger, older guys. But that being said, man, Keon and Ruff are so young. Yeah. Just keep doing it, keep pounding away, let your body grow and develop at a good pace. I'm not saying take your time 10 years, but don't force it, don't hurt yourself, don't do anything that's going to make your body look funny. A lot of guys that try to jump up in size dramatically kind of mess themselves up. That being said, a lot of the guys with the real, you know, aesthetic classic lines mentally aren't trying to get bigger. I think that's a mistake. You know, they think, oh, well, I'm classic. These guys are too big. No. If you want to win, man, you got to have that classic look. You got to have a beautiful, pleasing look, but you have to be bigger. This is a bodybuilding show. You have to be big and conditioned. So as long as they don't bring that size and density, they're not going to be placing in the top 5 in Olympia, I don't think.
And you can identify a lot of these guys because as part of their Instagram name, aesthetics is usually in there somewhere. So, you know, aesthetics is great, but I'd like to see aesthetics with some muscle too. That's a killer package.
Listen, I'm a 90s guy, so like Frank Zane, lots of respect. I was just never a huge fan because, you know, I don't know. I like something that's difficult to achieve. 90s, those guys were all the unbelievable, and it was a very interesting time where you had some of the most genetically gifted bodybuilders of all time competing at once.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of pros today would have a hard time winning an NPC show back then.
I mean, if anyone goes back, and they're not going to recognize the names, they're not going to know who these people are, but if you go back to like the Nationals results from like 1990 to 1998 or so, in the heavyweights, the light heavyweights, the middleweights, there were so many future stars. You know, top guys who were placing top 10 back, or 10th, 9th or 10th back then would easily be winning their pro card today.
I agree. Yeah. Everybody was hard as nails and dry. Yeah. You know, and that's a look that I'm trying to bring. It's not an easy look. I don't know. A lot of people always ask me, how come everyone was hard and dry and a lot of guys today are so watery in the open, you know? I think one major reason is size. Yeah. They're a lot heavier now.
They want to be big and full, but yeah. You need to be big, full, and ripped. That's
well, when you're not as full and not as big, but you're really dry and ripped, it's an illusion. You look bigger.
I mean, Sean Roden, bam.
Absolutely, yeah.
End of thread.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, size-wise, he was the smallest guy in the top 5.
Yeah.
But he wiped up the floor with everybody else.
You're right.
So, all right, Arash. Well, I'm very, very glad we got the chance to catch up.
Too.
Everyone's looking forward to seeing you. Are you going to be at the Arnold? Can people catch you there anywhere?
Fortunately, I won't. Dymatize doesn't have a booth, and I just want to stay here and train and just keep getting better. So I was looking forward to being there, but I won't be there, unfortunately.
Okay. What's your Instagram so people can follow you?
Arash Rahbar.
Any underscores in there?
In between the Arash and the Rahbar, there's an underscore.
I did know that, but I forgot.
Yeah, but once you put in Arash, there's not so many, so I pop up, you know, with my front double.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I hope that TFL thing gets resolved, the adrenal, all that, because I want to see the top guys all at their very best. Those are the shows that you remember.
Absolutely.
When it's like 5, 6 guys who all look like they could win.
I agree.
You're sitting there with your popcorn like, oh, God, what are these judges going to do with these guys?
I think this year is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be an amazing Olympia, so I'm excited to be a part of it.
Cool. Well, we all look forward to seeing you up there again. You're always a threat, and hopefully this year even more so.
Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So, everybody, thank you for watching Ronline Report with Arash Rahbar. We'll catch you next time.